I knew something was wrong before the sirens, before the push alerts, before any of it made sense. My name's Nate. I'm 32. I stock shelves at a big box store off I-80, the kind that sells tires and cereal and patio furniture in the same aisle. I rent a one-bedroom on the second floor of a three-story building with peeling paint and a landlord who texts back only if the word lawyer is in your message. My car is a dented silver Civic with a donut spare because I kept telling myself I'd buy a new tire after payday, and payday kept getting eaten by rent and gas and the shoes my kid outgrew. I've got a 5-year-old son named Eli who stays with me every other weekend, and a situationship with my ex, Jess, which means we argue like married people, flirt like teenagers, and pretend we're both fine with the limbo. I drink too much coffee. I talk to myself in grocery store aisles when I'm tired, and I always lock the deadbolt twice, habit from when I lived with my uncle who never locked anything. That morning was supposed to be boring. I was off, so I woke up late, fought the ancient Keurig, and let the local news talk at me while I scrolled. Weather said mild. Traffic said a wreck on 47 near the Dunkin'. The news ticker was the same loop of school board drama, and city council considers parking meters. It was normal, except it didn't feel normal. It felt like when you walk into your apartment and something is out of place, but you can't name it. The sound outside was off. Not quiet, just taped over, like the neighborhood had been turned down a notch. No leaf blowers, no guy across the hall blasting country, no construction bang from the strip mall expansion behind us. I figured it was just my head until I walked to the balcony with my mug and saw the white van. It was parked at the curb opposite my building, halfway into the no parking zone. Not Amazon, not FedEx. Plain white, government plates. A black dome on top that looked like a Wi-Fi router. 2 guys sat inside with those wraparound shades that make everyone look like a baseball coach. They weren't doing anything. Engine running, windows up, looking down our street like the street had done something wrong. I pulled out my phone to be nosy, and right as I tapped the camera, the older guy in the passenger seat looked at me. He didn't wave or smile. He just lifted a hand and put his finger to his lips, like we were already in on something and I'd missed the memo. Across the way, Mrs. Delaney from 2A shuffled towards the dumpster with a bag of recycling. She's 90% spine, 10% stubborn. Always says, "Bless your heart," like a threat. As she passed the mailbox cluster, she slowed down and stared at it. The cluster is metal, sun-faded, ordinary as bread. There were brown smears on the bottom right corner, like someone wiped barbecue sauce with a bad napkin. My brain filed it as ketchup because it was 10 in the morning and I didn't have room for anything else. Then I saw the smear wasn't a smear. It dripped. A drop fell from the lip of the metal onto the concrete, and I watched it spread in a circle that was too dark, too thick, and I felt my mouth go dry. I told myself a cat got it by a car. I told myself teenagers are gross. I told myself anything that wasn't someone bled here for real, because that idea put a cold pin in my stomach. I stepped back into the apartment and shut the slider, and somehow that felt like an adult decision. Eli called me on FaceTime from Jess's place. He was in a Batman shirt with cereal milk on it, excited because he'd built a tower of couch cushions. He asked if I'd take him to the park when he came over Friday, and if we could get the blue popsicles, not the red, and if I'd fixed the lamp that flickered in his room because he doesn't like to flicker when he's playing dinosaurs. I told him yes to all of it, and Jess rolled her eyes in the background because she knows I make big promises and then hustle to keep them at the last minute. When the call ended, I stared at my reflection on the black screen. I looked tired in that way you don't notice until a little kid looks at you and says, "You look tired." I went to the bathroom to splash water on my face and heard a cough from the hallway, a rip-your-throat-open cough, the kind you don't fake. It was followed by a thud and a muttered, "I'm fine," from Mr. Curtis in 3C. I texted the group chat we have for our building, Tanya, 3B, Miguel, 1C, Curtis, 3C, me, and a random number that never replies. I typed, "Anyone else see the white van?" And 3 dots popped up from Tanya, then disappeared. The dots came back, disappeared. Then she sent a pic of her cat in a laundry basket. It felt like a joke that wasn't a joke. I wrote LOL and set my phone down because I was getting weird about nothing and I hate being the weird one. At 11:17, my phone made that harsh noise I've only heard for Amber Alerts and tornado warnings. The banner said emergency alert, stay inside until further notice. There was a link below and I tapped it and it said incident in your area, and authorities are responding, and do not call 911 to ask for information. That last line stuck to me because no one writes that unless a lot of people are already calling. The TV flipped to a test screen with a bar tone for a second, and then a stern lady read the same words my phone had shown. On Facebook, my aunt posted a Minion meme about, if it's my time, it's my time, with praying hands. On Twitter, the trending tab was 3 cities I'd never been to and a video of a parking garage with people yelling. On local Reddit, a mod pinned a thread called Stay Civil, use Megathread, and locked 3 others with removed fearmongering. The white van was still there at noon. The older guy got out to stretch. He wore a plate carrier under a windbreaker. He looked at the mailbox, saw the brown not brown drip, walked over with a bottle, sprayed it, watched the liquid bead and run. He shook his head once and went back to the van. 2 minutes later, a city truck rolled up and a guy in a yellow vest got out with a sprayer, no mask, no gloves, and did the same thing again, like theater for the residents. I watched from behind the slats of my blinds, which is not a sentence I ever thought I'd think. My phone buzzed like it was trying to jump off the counter. 2 texts came in at the same time. One was from my manager. If you are scheduled tonight, check the app. Might close early. The other was from Jess. My mom says there's military at Target. Not ours, the one by the highway. Can Eli stay with me this weekend? Just in case. I typed, of course. I typed, I'll come get you both. I typed, what do you mean military? I deleted all of it and sent, yeah, let's talk later. Keep TV off around him. Then I clicked the schedule app and it wouldn't load. The little circle spun and spun. I turned off Wi-Fi and it still spun. I turned on Wi-Fi again and now nothing loaded at all. For a while, the day tried to pretend it was still a day. Amazon guys hustled packages. A teenager rode a scooter down the middle of the street like it was a runway. A couple argued in the parking lot in a low, mean way about a bank card. I tried to vacuum because it felt like a normal thing, but every time I pushed a vacuum forward, my brain filled with that alert banner. Stay inside. It looked like a caption under my life. Around 2, Miguel from 1C banged on my door. He's in his 40s, always in a mechanic shirt with someone else's name stitched on it. He had sweat marks under his arms, and his eyes were red in the corners, like he'd been working a double shift on no sleep. You got signal? He asked, already walking past me to look at my router blinking on the bookshelf. My sister called and it dropped, and now my phone's dead even though it says 80%. I plugged it in and it still says 80. Like it's lying. Router's fine, I said, because the lights were on, but the truth was the lights being on didn't mean anything anymore. He hovered near the window, and I moved the blind with one finger to look out. Habit I'd picked up in the last hour, like I'd been doing it all my life. You see that van? Miguel nodded like yes, and also like don't talk about it too loud. You hear the thing last night? He said. Like a bell. Like a big, low bell from far away. Woke me up at 3. My mom called from Laredo and said she heard it too. I told her there aren't bells that big, and she told me to stop telling her what exists. He laughed, but it wasn't funny. We stood there, 2 men who fix simple things with simple tools, unable to fix the air. The siren tone hit again from both our phones. Emergency alert. Block all doors before midnight. And there it was, in all caps, the kind of order that doesn't leave room for debate. Under it, smaller, this is not a drill. Miguel swallowed. Midnight, he said. Why midnight? I don't know, I said, but I'm going to Home Depot. As soon as I said it, he exhaled like he'd been holding his breath. A plan is oxygen. We made a list fast, like contestants on a game show. Plywood, screws, brackets, duct tape, batteries, water, cat food for Tanya's cat because I'd seen her stories, and she hadn't left the couch all day. We said we were going together, then said we should take separate cars. Then both agreed separate was stupid, and changed back to together. In the hallway, we met Tanya coming out of 3B with a baseball bat and a hoodie tied around her waist, like She was going to a bad softball game. She has a shaved head and a septum ring, and she's the one who knocks on your door if your package is sitting there too long because she knows porch pirates by name. "We're boarding up," she said without hello. "You in?" She had 3 packs of ramen and a box of wine under her arm like supplies for the end of the world, and a bad breakup at the same time. I called my brother, and it went to voicemail twice, then straight to that robot lady. The news said it's a network problem from the storm last week, which is stupid because there wasn't a storm last week. We pooled cash like it was 1999, and the card readers were dead. In the parking lot, the white van idled. The older guy rolled down his window, just enough for a voice. He didn't look at us. He said, "Home only. Be back in 30. It wasn't a threat. It was a note on a fridge. It scared me worse than yelling would have. Home Depot looked like someone had yelled free TVs. Carts jammed in the entry. People packing 2x4s like they were on sale at cost. A man in a church usher suit was telling people where the bolts were with the authority of Moses. A woman with a baby on her chest cried quietly while reading labels on generator boxes. No one was on their phone. Not scrolling, not filming. It felt like a wake for the internet. The card machines worked for some and not others. When ours didn't, I handed over cash and the cashier, a kid with acne and a sticker on his vest that said "Ask me about paint," counted it twice like he was buying a car. He gave me an extra box of screws like a blessing. "Before midnight," he said, and I didn't ask how he knew. On the drive back, we hit 3 intersections where the lights blinked red in all directions. At the third, a city bus had stopped diagonally with the doors open, empty. That was when I stopped pretending. The wrongness wasn't a mood. It was a thing with weight, and it sat on the city like wet concrete. We pulled into the lot and saw Mr. Curtis on his knees at the bottom of the stairs, hands braced on the railing, breathing like each inhale had to be negotiated. He's a big man with a soft laugh and a t-shirt collection from every barbecue competition within 50 miles. He looked up at us with shame, the kind men like him feel for no reason, and said, "Can one of you help me up?" Dizzy. His lips were cracked, and there was dried blood in the corner of his mouth, like he'd bitten his tongue. I hooked my arm under his, and he was heavier than he looked. When he stood, a dark drop fell from his nose onto the concrete. It hit where the mailbox drip had been and pooled, mixing, and I felt my skin try to climb off me. "People are saying it's the flu," he said, voice too casual, like he was playing the part of man with theory. Like a bad one. Or food poisoning. Maybe from the fair. He listed things to make a ladder out of them and climb away. "Let's get you inside," I said, and I did not look at his eyes, because up close, his pupils were too big, and the brown of his irises was a ring like a coffee stain. He coughed into his elbow, and something stringy caught in his beard. I pretended not to see it. He thanked me like I'd done something heroic, when all I wanted was to wash my hands until they squeaked. We carried plywood up the stairs, like we were moving in reverse, back into caves. Inside my apartment, I shoved the couch against the door, wedged the bookcase behind it, cleared the windowsill of Eli's Lego police car, and the picture he drew of the 3 of us holding hands. I stuck the picture under a magnet on the fridge where it made the most sense, next to the list that said milk, eggs, trash bags, tape. Miguel drilled pilot holes like a surgeon. Tanya measured twice and cut once, her bat leaning against the stove. We worked fast, not neat. The TV stayed on mute and showed the mayor at a podium asking us to remain calm, in a tone that would have been soothing in an elevator and insulting anywhere else. At 5:40 the power blinked and came back. We all froze like dogs do when a faraway thunder hits. My phone buzzed again, emergency alert, block all doors before midnight. Same words, same urgency, as if they were afraid we'd seen it, calmed down, and needed the prod again. I texted Jess, boarding up. "If you need me, I will come get you." 3 bubbles appeared immediately. Stopped. Appeared. Stopped. She finally sent. "Eli is coloring. TV off. Do what you need. I keep hearing something under the house. Probably nothing." I typed "get out of there" and deleted it. I typed "put a dresser against the door" and sent that. We took turns in the bathroom to wash our hands and faces and pretend the water made us safer. I saw in the mirror that I'd gotten with dust in my eyebrows. My hands shook when I leaned on the sink. The sink was clean, but I could not shake the feeling of grit on my palms, like I'd touched a beach with no ocean. From the balcony, I watched the sun think about leaving. The white van was gone. A different vehicle had replaced it. Same plain paint. No plates this time. A dish like a tilted bowl on top clicking slowly. It panned across the street, paused on each door, then panned again. I thought of the guy's finger to his lips. The mailbox gleamed like it had been scrubbed with anger. 2 new drops appeared before my eyes, fat and perfect. They fell and made twins on the concrete. I opened my mouth to call Miguel and Tanya and found I didn't want them to see it. I didn't want to spread the picture. I wanted to keep the wrongness small enough to hold in my hand. By 7, we had the windows covered on the inside with plywood, screwed into studs, blankets taped over the seams, a rug against the threshold. We left the bathroom window cracked because there's no fan, and you can't shower in that room without suffocating. We argued about that for 3 minutes, which felt like a luxury. We ate ramen with hot sauce and split a warm beer 3 ways because none of us wanted to be the only one drinking. Tanya poured a bit into a coffee mug for the ghost of the future, where we laughed about this. No one laughed. The building settled. Someone cried 2 floors down and then stopped fast, like a hand over a mouth. Somewhere in the distance, I heard that low bell Miguel had mentioned, a sound that made the hair at the back of my neck go alert. It wasn't a church bell. There's a weight to a church bell, a sweetness, a roundness. This was a note held by something that liked holding it. It came in waves. The second time, the dishes in my sink hummed a little. At 8:13, the group chat lit up from the random number that never replies. It sent a photo. It was grainy and dark like a security camera caught a ghost. It showed the lobby of our building. The glass front door was there, the mailboxes, the flyers no one reads tacked to the corkboard. There was also a figure pressed against the glass from the outside. Not a person the way you'd say a person is at the door. A shape with a head tilted in a way that made my own neck hurt to mirror it. Hands flat on the glass, like it was feeling the temperature through the pane. Its clothes were wrong, like it was dressed from a lost and found box. The caption under the photo said, "Don't open." Then the number left the chat. "Who is that?" Tanya said, voice paper thin. "Is that a prank? Because that isn't funny." Miguel walked to the door and leaned his ear against it, then jerked away like he'd put it on a hot stove. "Someone's breathing on the other side," he said, and he said it like he was telling me a fact I needed later. Car model, license plate, price of milk, a breath, with a hitch in it, a sounding. I put my hand on the couch we'd shoved against the door and felt a thud through it, soft, more suggestion than knock. It was followed by a whisper, the S of it sliding under the wood. "Nate." My name, said in the voice Jess uses when Eli is asleep, and she wants me to come look at something dumb on her phone. It was the voice of my better moments. "Nate, it's me, please open." I stared at the peephole I'd covered with duct tape, and my brain did me the favor of unspooling a memory of the 3 of us at the park. Eli screaming on the swing because I pushed too high, and Jess laughing with her head thrown back like the world wasn't heavy. My hand moved an inch toward the duct tape before I stopped it. "That's not her," Tanya said, eyes wide. "You said she's at her mom's. You texted. That's not her, man." She took 2 quick steps closer and put her palm on my chest to keep me from doing something stupid. Her hand was small and warm, and it made me want to cry for a second. Not because of the danger, but because of the human touch in a room that suddenly felt like a bunker on the moon. The whisper came again. Same shape of my name. Same cadence. Then a sound like a smile pressed against glass. "Block all doors before midnight," it said, repeating the alert text in a tone you'd use to recite a bedtime rhyme. The way kids sing things when they want to make them scary. Then a scrape like teeth on the metal edge of the frame. Miguel lifted the drill like a weapon without thinking. The way men lift things when they're out of options. The bell in the distance held the note a little longer, like approval. We backed away from the door together. 3 steps, 4. I thought, stupidly, about the fact that I still hadn't bought a real tire. that there were blue popsicles in the bodega freezer down the street, and I hadn't bought any yet, that the lamp in Eli's room still flickered, and I'd promised to fix it, and I'd lied without meaning to. I thought about the white van and the man with the finger to his lips, and how maybe he wasn't telling me a secret so much as giving me a rule to live by. Miguel added 2 more screws into the frame at shoulder height, a third at knee height, with biting wood. I pushed the bookcase harder against the couch, and the couch harder against the door until my shoulder ached. Tanya tied the hoodie around the knob, so if it turned we'd see it move. We didn't talk for a minute, because there was nothing to say that wasn't obvious. When my phone buzzed again and lit the room, it felt obscene. The alert was the same, last line bold now, like it had learned we weren't good listeners. Block all doors before midnight. The clock on the stove said 9:04. The power blinked again and stayed. We kept working. We moved the fridge 2 inches to block a back door that doesn't even open, just in case. We slid a broom through the handles of the balcony slider, like a cartoon, because why not? We taped over the bathroom window gap until the tape lifted the paint. I set Eli's drawing face out on the counter where I could see it and told myself that if anything made it through that door, I'd smash it with the cast iron skillet before it could get near it. I told myself that and believed it enough to breathe. At 10:12, the whisper at the door changed. It stopped using my name. It started naming other things in my apartment. Keys, it said, amused. Wallet. Shoes under bed. Lamp with a flicker. It was a voice you'd use if you were inventorying a life. It knew too much or guessed too well. The bell rolled again. Somewhere down the hall, a hinge screamed and a door slammed and someone yelled, "Don't." And then the kind of silence that isn't empty. It's full of the wrong thing. We worked faster. We didn't argue about the bathroom window anymore. We didn't take turns washing our hands. Midnight wasn't a number. It was an animal walking toward our building, shoulders rolling, casual because it knew we couldn't stop it, only slow it down. I pressed my palm flat against the wood of the door at 11:03 and felt the faintest vibration, like someone on the other side was humming with their mouth closed, and the note was in my bones now too. At 11:47, the power died and didn't come back. The clock on the stove went black. The hum in the walls stilled. The shared building air went from apartment complex stale to cave stale. We lit 1 candle and set it in a bowl on the floor so it wouldn't throw our faces at the windows. The flame made the tape over the peephole look like an eye. My phone, on 30%, lit with 1 more alert that didn't buzz, just glowed, the way a nightlight glows in a child's room after a nightmare. It said the same words it had said all day, words that had seemed ridiculous at noon and now ran our hands like puppet strings. Emergency alert. Block all doors before midnight. We were done. We had nothing else to move that would move. We stood together in a triangle in my small living room, 3 people who wouldn't have been in the same room on a normal night, waiting for the last minute to fall off the clock. When it did, when midnight finally clicked over on our silent phones and the candle flame trembled for no reason we could see, the voice outside the door stopped whispering and spoke in a plain tone, like a neighbor asking to borrow a cup of sugar. "Okay," it said. "Now we begin." The first crash against the door came just after midnight. Not a polite knock, not even a shoulder hit, but something full body and furious, hard enough to shake the bookcase and rattle the taped-over peephole. The candle on the floor flared sideways and spit wax. Miguel cursed under his breath. Tanya grabbed the bat. My heart did a weird stop-start thing and then sprinted, like it had just remembered it was supposed to keep me alive. A second slam came, heavier, like whatever was out there had learned our door. Dust drifted from the frame. The whisper voice that had been taunting us all night was gone. Now it was just breathing, deep, huge breaths that belonged to something bigger than a man or too many men at once. The hallway outside erupted, with splitting somewhere to the left. A scream, sharp, cut off too fast. Then running. You can hear running when you're locked in. Fast, light, desperate. It moved past our door and down the stairs, then stopped mid-step with a wet thump and silence. The low bell Miguel had talked about rolled once, close enough this time that the floor shivered. Miguel leaned into the couch, drill raised like a club. Don't open," he said, to himself or to me, I don't know. My phone buzzed again. Not an alert this time, but Jess, FaceTime. I almost dropped it. I swiped and whispered, "Jess?" She was crouched in her mom's hallway. Behind her, the door was barricaded with a table, chairs, laundry baskets. Eli was in her lap asleep, thumb still half in his mouth. Jess's face was blotchy from crying but fierce. "She's tough when it counts." "Something's in the yard," she whispered. "It's walking the fence line. I think it's saying my name." I wanted to tell her it wasn't saying her name, but I'd heard my name all night. "Stay put," I said. "Keep everything blocked. No lights." My own voice shook and I hated it. Another crash at our door. The whole frame groaned. Tanya swung the bat and hit the couch like she was warming up. Miguel mouthed, "Window?" I shook my head. We'd sealed them. Plus, second floor doesn't mean safe if you don't know what's climbing. We heard Curtis then. Mr. Curtis from 3C. Voice raw, yelling, "Help me!" from somewhere below. I froze because I'd helped him up the stairs just hours ago, because my stupid heart didn't understand survival math. Tanya whispered sharp, "It's not him. Don't you dare." Then louder to the door, "Go away." The answering sound was wrong, a laugh, but dry, like someone with sand in their throat. Then it repeated in a higher pitch, mocking, "Not Curtis." The lock turned once. We hadn't locked it. My stomach dropped, but no, the deadbolt was in. The handle turned anyway, straining metal, even though it should have been solid. Miguel jammed another screw fast into the doorframe, with shaking hands. I took the skillet from the stove because it was heavier than the bat. Tanya adjusted her stance, like she'd actually fight whatever was coming. Brave or stupid or both. My phone buzzed again. Jess text this time. "Power out here too." He's at the window, not looking in, just waiting. Then a new sound, sirens, but not police. Deep and modulated, like air raid sirens slowed down. They came from outside, echoing off every surface. In the candlelight, Tanya's face looked carved from stone. Miguel whispered, "National Guard." But no one answered because none of us believed that anymore. Something above us cracked. Third floor. Then a dragging noise overhead, heavy as a dresser, slow and steady. Our ceiling dusted plaster onto the couch. Tanya muttered, "No, no, no," like a prayer. I grabbed the phone, opened the blinds on the balcony, just enough to peek. Outside looked unreal, streetlights gone, houses dark, only red glow in the distance from something burning. In that faint glow I saw movement, 5, 6, maybe more figures in the parking lot. Thin but tall, heads twitching side to side like animals catching scent. They moved wrong, too smooth, shoulders swinging like they weren't built for balance. One stopped and slowly tilted its face up toward me. Even from here I saw its mouth open far too wide. Not screaming, just open. It started toward our building. The others followed. "Back," I hissed. We retreated to the kitchen, the only part with 2 exits. Tanya shoved the fridge farther. Miguel found a chef's knife and handed it to me handle first. Outside the door, scratching began, long nails or something harder dragging across wood. Then tapping, playful, deliberate. The candle guttered out. We were in dark except foam glow. My phone lit with another alert, but this one was different. Short, broken text, like whatever system sent it was glitching. "Stay midnight block if inside no windows." Then it cut. Glass shattered somewhere close. Screams from another unit, then silence again. Tanya sobbed once and bit her hand to stop it. Miguel looked at me with the kind of question that isn't words. Do we run? Do we fight? Before I could answer, footsteps slammed up the stairwell, heavy but fast, like boots. Then pounding on our door, not the same scratching from before, but full human fists. A man's voice yelling, "Let me in. Open. Open, for God's sake." We froze. Tanya shook her head violently. Miguel's eyes begged. Another blow, harder, that would split just a hair. I don't know what made me, but I called out, "What's my name?" Silence. Then Nate. Perfect, my name, exactly right. But Jess had said it knew names. I tightened on the skillet. "Who's with you?" I asked. Pause. Then my son, the voice said. I didn't have a son with a stranger. That was the tell. I felt a rush of cold down my back. Wrong, I said, voice shaking. Miguel drove the last screw until it squealed. The thing outside, whatever it was, stopped pounding. After a beat, soft laughter again. Then retreating steps. Not away, just out of reach. We stayed like that, frozen, breathing shallow, until the footsteps faded. Minutes, maybe hours, passed. Time had no edges now. The bell didn't return. The scratching didn't return. But the parking lot wasn't empty anymore when I risked a tiny peek. Dozens of figures stood there, silent, facing our building, waiting. Some hunched, some twisted in ways spines shouldn't. They didn't move, just stared. I texted Jess. Still there? After long seconds. Yes. At window. Not moving. Then, Nate knows your name. My chest went hollow. Miguel whispered, we can't stay. Tanya, and go where? We looked at each other and realized the truth at the same time. Whatever's happening isn't a storm to wait out. It's coming in, around, under. Somewhere below, a new door splintered. Screams again, cut off with a wet pop. Our building is being peeled like an onion. I grabbed a backpack, threw in water, flashlight, charger, Eli's picture. Miguel found duct tape and a claw hammer. Tanya slung the bat over her shoulder. We moved to the balcony. Only exit not yet tested. Second floor drop. Doable if we're desperate. Outside, the silent crowd shifted as if it heard us think. Heads jerked upward in unison. A sound came from them, not scream, not moan. A low, layered hum like power lines in a storm. It vibrated in my teeth. We looked at each other. Three neighbors turned something else. Not friends, not strangers. Survivors about to gamble. Miguel whispered, on three. And we stepped toward the edge, into the dark toward whatever this new world really is, because staying meant dying quiet behind a door, already learning our names. We didn't count to three. Miguel just swung one leg over the balcony rail and dropped. He landed badly, but stayed upright. Gave us a quick hand wave to jump. Tanya went next, a blur of shaved head and hoodie, hitting the ground with a grunt and rolling like she'd done it before. I swung over last, heart pounding, and for a second hung there, stupidly aware of the picture of Eli jammed in my jacket pocket like a paper shield. Then I let go. The landing hurt. Gravel cut my palms, my ankle twisted, but adrenaline burned it away. We bolted across the lot toward the Civic because it was closer than Miguel's truck and because keys were already in my pocket. That sound, the low hum, followed us, rising like 1,000 power lines feeding on panic. Figures turned as we ran. They didn't sprint. They just pivoted, smooth and wrong, heads tracking us like a pack. The closest one stepped forward, and I saw its face under a broken streetlight. Too pale, too stretched, like someone had pulled skin thin over a skull. The eyes were black wet pits, no white at all, and when its mouth opened the hum came louder, vibrating my bones. I fumbled the Civic key, cursed, jammed it again until the lights blinked. We dove inside, Miguel in back, Tanya up front. I hit lock 3 times, though once was enough. The moment the doors thunked shut, something slammed into the hood. Not a person. Something heavier, but still human-shaped. It left a dent and smeared dark across the windshield before sliding off and vanishing under the car. Go! Tanya screamed. I turned the key. Engine caught. I floored it. We tore out of the lot. A handful of figures started after us, but they didn't run. They just lengthened their stride, like joints bending new ways. The road ahead looked wrong, blacked out houses, stoplights dead, cars abandoned at angles. I aimed for the highway because open felt better than close, because I didn't know anywhere else. Miguel leaned between the seats, watching behind. They're following, he said, voice flat. How many? Too many. I pressed harder on the gas. The Civic shook but held. Tanya's phone buzzed. Somehow it had signal when nothing else did. A single push alert, same style as before but different wording. Leave urban areas. Barriers compromised. Trust no voice. She showed it to me without speaking. Jess, I said and swore. I hit call, no ring, just dead air. Tried text, leaving. Highway west. Stay dark. Delivered didn't pop up. Miguel muttered, "We get to her." "We don't know if roads." "We get to her," he snapped. And maybe it was stupid, but it was also right. Family was still family. We hit an intersection choked with stalled cars. I swerved onto the sidewalk, Civic bumping and scraping. Something in the dark ahead moved, 4, 5 of them, but they stayed just outside the glow of the headlights, pacing us. I didn't slow. Every few blocks we saw proof this wasn't just our building. A delivery truck sideways into a house. Police cruiser door open, lights dead. A playground strewn with bags, little shoes, empty. I bit the inside of my cheek until I tasted copper to keep from thinking about it. At one point, a man ran into the street waving both arms, face streaked with something that wasn't sweat. Tanya yelled to stop, but my gut screamed no. The man's mouth hung open too wide, leaking out. I swerved and kept going. Tanya sobbed once, but didn't argue. The highway entrance finally came into view. Blessed green sign, half lit by my beams. But the ramp ahead was blocked by 2 big military trucks, nose to nose. Floodlights up top. Soldiers. I slowed, hope flickering. Then one of the soldiers turned. Helmet off. Neck bending too far. Roaring. Not soldiers. Wrong now. I swung hard onto the service road instead, tires squealing. Miguel grunted and held the seat. Behind us, the floodlights jerked as if aimed, but no shots, no commands, just that humming chorus swelling. We drove until city turned a stretch of gas stations and fields. Power out everywhere. No other cars moving. The world shrunk to what my headlights touched. "Where?" Tanya asked finally, voice cracking. "My ex's," I said. "North side, near the old plant." We took back roads, weaving past wrecks and things I didn't let myself study. Twice we saw shapes dart across, but nothing chased. Jess's street was unlit, her house a black block among black blocks. My stomach dropped, no way to know what waited, but the need to get Eli was louder than fear. We parked a house away, killed lights, sat breathing. Miguel whispered, "Plan?" I laughed, dry and small. "We don't have one." We crept to the porch. Boards Jess had stacked against the door were still there, but shifted. Something had tried to get in. I knocked soft. 3, 2, 1. The pattern we used back when we were married and forgot keys. Pause. Then the deadbolt clicked. Jess's face pale, eyes huge. Eli clinging to her side, awake now and scared. She yanked us in fast and slammed the door. More boards, more chairs, but gaps everywhere. Her mom sat on the floor, clutching a kitchen knife like a toy. She looked shell-shocked. "They came?" I asked. Jess nodded, kept circling. One said Eli's name. My chest went hollow again. We didn't waste time. Grabbed what we could, backpack with kid clothes, water, snacks. Miguel helped brace the door better, but none of us trusted it. The alert said leave urban. Tanya said. Jess whispered, "Where?" "Nowhere's safe." "We move," I said. "Stay quiet. Country roads. West." Miguel pointed out. In distance, faint but there. Closing. We hustled. Out back door to alley. Civic waiting. Eli was shaking silent in my arms, face buried in my jacket. Jess followed, clutching a crowbar. Tanya scanned with the bat. We got in and rolled out slow. Lights off until we hit the main road. The hum rose behind, maybe drawn by engine or just us. But it didn't catch us, not yet. Driving west, no destination but away. I watched the clock on the dash. 3:07 a.m. and alive. New alert buzzed, but my phone battery read. Just a fragment of text before it died. "No sanctuary. Keep moving. Survive." I looked at Jess beside me, at Eli curled small, at Miguel and Tanya silent but ready, and felt the thin line we'd crossed. From tenants and parents and exes into something harder. Survivors maybe, or just running meat. The world outside wasn't the one I'd promised Eli, but it was the one we had. And as long as he breathed against my chest, we'd keep going. Headlights swept empty highway and vanished into dark ahead. We drove on,